So yeah, let's wait just another minute or so to get some people that are having trouble connecting into the room. Then we'll get started. I do have quite a few slides to show everybody. So we'll get started here pretty soon. All right, so why don't we go ahead and get started? Be respectful of your time. Thank you for coming today. I've got an exciting opportunity to tell you all about here at UTSA. And it starts with this slide, an introduction to you, if you will, of the UTSA International Study Center in Urbino, short acronym ISCU. And I am the executive director of ISCU, also the associate vice provost of global initiatives. We do have quite a few slides, so I'm going to go pretty rapidly, and hopefully we'll have time for questions. If you have them along the way, you can type them in the chat so we don't lose them. So let's get started. So a couple of quick views of Urbino. It is a gorgeous hill town in the eastern side of the Adriatic side of Italy. We'll show you a little bit more about what that is. The whole town is a UNESCO designated monument site. So it's an impressive place and it's incredibly well kept up for its history. So real quickly, what we're going to look at today is what is ISCU? Where is it? A little about it, how it came to be, how are things structured, what it's for. We have something called a bridge fund to help students out as far as cash flow. Where are we going from here, and what are the students saying about our experiences there? So in 2010, as the Dean of Architecture at the time, I created this opportunity for our design students to spend a full term semester in Italy, whether it was the fall or the spring. And make sure people can hear me. And it has grown. It started out obviously very small, but we hooked up with a company, an Italian company in a town called Fano, which is about 35 kilometers from Urbino. And we put together a plan to have an ongoing location and relationship with that local community. And so that's what we've done. They're an amazing partner to have with UTSA, and we'll talk more about them. And if you go there, you'll get to know them extremely well. So the reason for the study center, it was created because we were going there as architecture students, but I quickly understood that UTSA at large should have the opportunity to send students for programming there in Urbino. So we created this center, and its sole purpose is to facilitate coordination and programmatic opportunities across the whole university and all the different colleges. So I went to all the different college dean chairs councils, and I presented to all the colleges about the opportunities that we should come up with there. And we, at that point, we had one response, and that was from a liberal and fine arts college. and they've done amazing things since, I guess it's 2011, and they've consistently been going and creating a lot of different programs. A lot of you may have access to Urbino through the College of Liberal and Fine Arts. So kudos to them for all they've been doing along the way, parallel, in fact, with architecture and interior design students. We also have engineering going at this point. We'll talk more about that. The executive director, the ED, throughout the year, I compose several agreements with UTSA programs to create the budgets and prior to advertising to the students. I oversee any interdisciplinary opportunities in Urbino. Rebecca Pollock and Locke Lee here in the Office of Global Initiatives assist throughout the year on those endeavors as well. Executive Director serves as an on-site UTSA location and relative administrative representation, if you will. So I am the UTSA person there on site. I work on site with GEV, Global Education Ventures, to serve the students and faculty in maximizing the experience. GEV handles all the logistics, whether it's the dorm rooms, the group meals, the travel within the country, the hotel stays, access to areas. They will even help you if you're having trouble planning your own weekend free travel time. They'll assist you on how to get that done. So they're on site, actually about 50 feet from the classrooms where we have the studies, about 40 hours during the week, maybe closer to 50, Monday through Friday. Always available. They all live locally, so it's not a problem. Off hours if you have something come up, whether it's getting in touch with me or getting in touch with them. Executive Director has general on-site oversight of all operations. On the University main campus, once again, Rebecca and Locke will be assisting throughout the year as we plan these programs upcoming. Right now, we're very heavily into planning for the fall semester as we speak. So a little bit more about where it is. It's in, a lot of people go to Tuscany, the left-hand side or the west side, if you will. I went directly to the other side of the peninsula. I call it the calf muscle of the Italian leg, a boot leg. Okay. Regione Marche is what this is called. It's a lot like Tuscany in the fact that it's hilly, except it has a more mountainous terrain as well, and it's green. Tuscany has lovely vistas, but there's a lot of golden and brown colors to it, whereas Marche is green and lush, and it's just a wonderful, it used to be a well-kept secret, but not so much anymore. A blow up of that region, this large circle here on the left is Urbino, and on the right you have two seaside towns, Pesaro and Fano. Pesaro is where the intersection for the bus line and the train station is for students to go abroad. It's only 30 kilometers, so it is a 45-minute bus ride, public bus ride from Urbino that you catch for something like €2 or €3, and it takes you all the way to the train station. It's one and the same with the bus terminal, and that is where you can make your exchange and go to transport to anywhere you want to go. It's also a lovely seaside town if that's your destination for your trip at the time. As I said, you can't take a bad picture in the area of Urbino. Everything is monumental, and it's fascinating, and it's just a very lovely thing to experience. The Duke Federico, and very old, obviously, Duke was very famous, and he was a big patron of the arts, and also he has a really interesting history over time. He was the lead of a large group of mercenaries, basically soldiers for hire in the country of Italy. It was the country back then. But anyway, a lot of history there that you would learn is extremely interesting. Another view of his, very well known, his palazzo is famous, one for its design and its aesthetic, but also just how well kept it is. In the fall, reportedly, we will, as an architecture group, have access to the palace for the design projects, which is incredible that we're going to be given that access. And it's a wonderful museum in its own right. and you would get access to that for viewing as well. You do have all seasons in Urbino. These pictures with snow are from January, February time period, but they're typically equipped to handle it, and you learn how to deal with colder weather. I think it's wonderful in that time of year. Just some other shots around town. As you can see, most structures are just are incredibly attractive and aesthetic. And it's a very clean place. It looks like this every day. It's not just for the pictures, right? We have some, this is a road by the mausoleum where Federico and his wife are buried. It's across a small valley. Here's a layout of the overall space. Up in the upper right of this picture, you have the Centro Storico, or historic center of Urbino, which by and large today has morphed over the past 50 to 75 years into a university town. By and large, the occupants are the University of Urbino, which has about 12 to 14,000 Italian, German, French students from all over Europe, but mostly Italian. It's either that group or it's the city government group, right? Most of the year-round residents, in fact, live in Urbino Nuova, or modern Urbino, outside the city wall, where they have, in a sense, built another twin town. They moved out, built a house, and then they rent their old places, old buildings, to the university or the students for dorms and things like that. In the early through late 60s, this campus at the forefront of this slide is called the Colle. A famous architect, Giancarlo De Carlo, created this. He was very far ahead of his time, to the point where he had green roofs on these buildings. You'll see in some other pictures when the technology to have a successful green roof wasn't in place, and consequently they've had to upgrade it to make it function better. But he was very farsighted, and this, I think, has about 1,000 beds in different forms of dormitory. Another snapshot, the relationship, this library building on the top level is in fact where our studios and classrooms are, and our GEV and my office is down here one level before. But you can see it's in close proximity, 3-minute walk to the main entrance, down the hill back to the cafeteria. Another word for, they use mensa is the word they use for, this is one of the 2 cafeterias available to our students. The other one is in City Center. So you don't have to go back to City Center to eat lunch before you come back to class in the afternoon. So that's the Mensa. Some interior shots real quickly. All of this, especially in that time in history, architects designed everything, including the furniture. And all of this furniture is original from the 60s. It's been very well kept up. This shows you a little bit about the style of architecture. We would call this brutalist architecture. It's rough concrete. You can see wall ties and things like that in the wall. I don't want to get too much into design, but this is the cafeteria, the Mensa, down in the, it's called the, I can't remember what the building's called, but anyway, it's somewhat underground, although they have upper levels as well. Cafeteria style, 3-course lunch type thing. Very good food, especially from a context of a cafeteria. Some shots from outside, but walking through buildings, it's like you're in the middle of mountainous Eden, right? It's a beautiful vista every direction you look. The architecture, the buildings, they're showing their age a little bit, but there are some plans already underway to restore all the buildings. I believe it's a 5-year plan. So that would be going on, hopefully, as we're there in the future. But by and large, very strong and attractive buildings as well. The Aquilone building, which is the library building, as I said, this is where our classrooms are. Library inside is, you know, with the way digital resources are today, basically it's study space, right? Everybody 95, 99% of people in the library are studying, or they're accessing through their laptop the information they're supposed to be researching. There are books still there, but I would argue that they're fairly old books. And so it's more of a collections, an honorary collection space, in my opinion. They have some very old computers. I think they actually pulled them out, but they're like from the early 90s and late 90s. So everybody uses a laptop there just as we do. Some additional interior spaces. Once again, all of this furniture is original from the late 60s. These are the studios. For the architecture students, you have a similar classroom for COFA classes or history classes or education classes in the future, or engineering classes. Some other interiors, I joke with people 10 years ago that their facilities are really better than some of ours at the downtown campus. And it's true, they're clean. They have staff, basically 24/7, because there's a melding of the dormitories with the academic space. So it's all around each other. So there are people there all the time. This is our terrace, if you will, outside our classrooms, with a view of several different valleys from there. These are two views, one walking to town and one walking back toward class. It's about a 15-minute walk. I think it's about 1.5 kilometers. There is also a bus that goes, periodically back and forth pretty often, but nobody takes it because it's a nice way to walk, and it's less trouble than waiting on the bus and taking the bus. So it's a relatively convenient location from the class to the city center. Some more photographs. This is of the central car park by the main gate at the bottom of the town. We have some faculty housing in the middle of town, very close to where we have a new dormitory building starting in the fall. Some views from that. This is the already restored, it's called Colegio Internacionale. It is like a hotel, basically, and it's where our faculty stay. Sometimes if we have to, students get to stay there if we don't have enough room in the other locations. But that's not rare, but it's not as often. Faculty, anybody in the university system that's coming to visit somebody in town can rent one of these rooms through the university system. It is a university-related building. Some more views from that building. Not bad from your hotel room, right? So in the area, we have the region. Marque is, look at some of these pictures and some of these statements. So the artist Raffaello is from Urbino, the city. His father was born and raised there. He lived there as a youth. The town just celebrated the 500th anniversary of his death in 2019. And the celebration pretty much lasted all year. It was a pretty amazing time to come through the town and see what they were doing to honor him and his legacy. As I said, we do have all seasons there, although typically not brutal. It's going to be cold for the next 3 weeks kind of thing. So you prepare and we go about what we're going to do anyway. But we also have very lovely weather there, probably 10 months out of the year. So Pesaro, one of those coastal cities, the seaside cities that I pointed out on one of the first maps, is a fishing and seafront community, obviously. The differences in topography and the countryside are pretty amazing on the Eastern Adriatic side of Italy. You have the sailboats in the dock. You have this kind of view at the rock edge. You have both types of beaches, pebble beaches and sand beaches. Along there, you have a quick increase in topography right next to the sea. So you get some cliffs in that same area. You have some national parks that you can go visit and hike. So it's really an extraordinary place visually to visit. And one never gets tired of what they see just walking around, whether it's at day, at night, or at dusk. The beach season starts about in May-ish. I'm not sure exactly when it starts. It runs through the end of September. So if you go to a fall program, you'll have a bunch of beach time if you wanted to take the bus to the beach from Urbino on the weekend, for example. It's a lot of the beaches are private, tied to the nearby adjacent hotel, but there are some public beaches. And of course, you can walk all the way down all you want. Fano, the other city on the Adriatic, is smaller than Pesaro, but it's just as important. It has similar spot on the seaside, a bay, if you will, function. It's got some jetties built out, and it's got a relatively new pier, large pier built probably about 2007, 2008. So it has quite a number of yachts and seafaring fishery boats and things like that. So it's you can see some pretty amazing ships parked there. But I always have to remind myself that people actually live day to day in these beautiful little towns that we come to visit. Obviously, they have their particular regional wine that they call home. Some other photographs around town, just me taking as I walk around. We did visit some vineyards. We actually helped on a couple semesters. We took students out to help pick grapes and get the harvest and the pressing explained to us. And we do that pretty much every semester. It's a big area for sunflower seeds and sunflower seed oil. This is Gradara. It's one of innumerable number of hilltop towns, but this one is it's a beautiful, picturesque castle on top of a hill. And you can go walk all the way through it. It's an amazing day trip. And like I said, we have some national parks very close by. We hike with students. Sometimes if the weather is right, we have in the past once or twice taken snowshoeing groups out. This is about an hour from Urbino, this very mountainous terrain. And we take a couple hikes for those students that are up to it and willing. So how are things structured? Global Education Ventures, as I said, is our partner, our Italian partner company. They do everything for us that you can imagine to help us along the way and to help us prepare to get over there. We're going to talk about some costs, typical costs and inclusions, exclusions in the cost. How the room and board is handled, typical semester layout within the groups and how they integrate. What is what we call the bridge fund? How are we doing? We'll go from there. So what's important for you to understand being a general UTSA student is a trip to Urbino starts with a faculty champion and an idea. And then that faculty member calls me and says, hey, I want to bring a group of students and we're going to take these courses and we're going to do these things. Let's figure it out. And I sit down with them and we figure it out. We cost it out and we figure out how what they want to do works with who's already going. Because we do become one large group. This fall, we're expecting a group of about 80 students from 3 to 4 different disciplines or degree programs. So a big part of my job is to figure out how to make that work smoothly and so that everybody gets what they need on field trips and excursions. But the faculty is the person that drives the idea. So when you leave this meeting today, let's say in 6 months, you had an idea and you're from philosophy, you're a philosophy major, and you want to go to somebody in that department and say, hey, have you ever thought of doing this on a study abroad to Urbino? I've got some ideas, and you just start talking about it. But you have to get a faculty member that's ready to champion the opportunity to come to me, and we'll try to figure it out. And consequently, the respective colleges have to support it. through that faculty champion. As I said, College of Louisville and Fine Arts did a great job from the second year we were in operation, bringing groups consistently, and they've had to bring different groups in order to keep the stream of people going. The colleges, and the faculty champion has discussions with me, as I said, related to scope and timing. Right now, I'm talking with some people in environmental sciences, and their program is probably about a year away because we're working through some of the details. And basically to get student numbers up to where it warrants going. Budget creation, I work with the faculty champion and GEV. They approve all the estimating that I'm doing before we tell a group. Study abroad proposal is processed via the Office of Global Initiatives. LOCKS group, the people that have started this fair today. And then we start selling to you, the students. Because we have to get a certain number of students willing to go at a certain price in order for it to be justified, right? So I use the word sell. I could say attract students to get the numbers up. Then the students, after it's been set up and everybody is understood that they're going to go, students pay your first deposit, roughly about 25% of the overall program cost. And then that also initiates something we call the bridge fund. By a certain deadline, you give us the deposit, it initiates that bridge fund process. We'll talk more about that in a minute. And then you have the semester before you go, some prep activities, how to pack, basic Italian, cultural differences, things like that to get you ready to go. But first, let's talk about the cost and what's included and what's excluded. So for your program cost, you get 13 weeks of a place to stay. That includes the week that you get for fall or spring break. If you didn't want to go anywhere, you have a place to stay, right? It comes with 120 meals for lunch and dinner. That is sized because typically people are there for 12 weeks. And lunch and dinner every day during the week seems to be an appropriate amount to put on the card. And most people are gone doing something else for the weekend, or they're not eating in the Mensa, right? So rarely do students use their 120 meals completely up. But you have them there if you need them. If you don't eat Thursday and Friday, you can always use those meals on Saturday and Sunday. The Mensa is open, right? It's just that we don't include the Saturday and Sunday in your baseline cost, but you can use them on weekend days as well. We have 3 excursions. One's to Tuscany, Rome, and the Veneto, and those are 3 nights each. We typically have an extra night that you are given the opportunity to pay for another night in the hotel and stay there on your own if you like. But the program covers 3 nights in each of those excursions, transportation there and back. No food is included for those weekend excursions. We have field trips throughout the semester. If you think about it, 13 weeks minus 1 week for the break week, minus 3 weeks for excursions, right? Now you're down to 9 weeks net. And we probably have 5 or 6 of those weeks with field trips. So you're very active. You never get bored. A lot of things to see and do. Classroom space is included, obviously, special events, Italian instructors, etc. We have an opening meal and a closing meal, a final meal celebration right before you head back home. And we have the support of the JEV staff on site included in the cost. Not included are the transatlantic flights. So the round trip from here to Italy and back is not included. Tuition and fees are not included. They are just as if you're going to school here, the tuition. You'll pay that same tuition here for the courses your classroom just happens to be in Italy, right? The weekend free time travel money, that's on you. Weekend meals are on you. Expenditures, the miscellaneous entertainment, however much fun you can afford to have, is all on you. The study abroad Office has international program fees that are not included in the program cost, that you would be charged for that as well. Anything not specifically listed on a previous slide is not included as well. Those 3 excursion locations, as I said, Rome, the Veneto, and Tuscany, we're going to hold to those. That's what we've been doing since 2010, and we haven't changed. We have a history with the places we stay and the things we see, and we've basically got it down pat, and the students always have a great time in those 3 locations. Some examples of field trips. These are small towns in the region, right? Some of them step just outside the region, but they're within a 1-day travel distance, leaving 6 or 7 in the morning, and we typically come back about dinner time. Just some quick shots that we've taken through the years of the field trips and the excursions. We hit all the typical sightseeing places, but we also hit so much more. Places that are specific to your discipline. One of the charges for your individual faculty leads is they're supposed to prepare, if you are a psychology major, I'll keep with that example, your professor is supposed to, before we go to Rome, have researched what's good for a psychology student to see, besides the normal sightseeing history, is you might have a clinic visit, right? You may have some other discipline-specific field trip within this excursion that your faculty have arranged, and that's what we would hope would happen for all the disciplines. Like I said, we have 80 students going in the fall, so that group is going to, disseminate because it needs to, but it's going to go to different places as well as together places. So here's another view of our classrooms. And the one on the right, I was telling you about the green roofs back in the late 60s. They've been redone a couple times, but you can see the architecture is very interesting, and its setting is amazing. Some of the views we see. You have, so here's a picture of inside class. And here's a faculty that's pulled some students outside to discuss something that they're looking at outside. So the teaching is not bound by the classroom, right? It's bound by the country, frankly, and the country becomes an extended classroom to us. So a little bit about how we're doing. We've been in continuous operation for both long semesters since 2010. The first semester, I think we may have had 12, but maybe 18 students the first semester, and now we're all the way up to 70 to 80 per semester, multidisciplinary. We're forecasting that 80 to 90 for the fall of 21, spring 21 and beyond. And I'm trying to figure out how we can handle more, because I think we're going to continue to have an increase in calling for different groups to go over there. And we want to support that. So we're going to figure out how to get the group bigger and bigger. But we have had some growing pains, right? Because we're involving a lot of different colleges, architecture, construction, planning, COLFA, engineering, education, human development was in the process of planning for some first small groups to go, but they're in a change of leadership in the college. So that's kind of been put on pause. College of Sciences, I mentioned to you that we are talking with environmental sciences about taking their first group. College of Business and University College, I'm still talking with to try to figure out how we can do something for them. We have just completed, or GEV has just completed, the restoration of an old building. I'm not sure how old, we will find out. It's called Palazzo Chiocci, and it holds 46 beds. I received some pictures just yesterday on my phone. It looks amazing. They're installing the furniture right now. And we'll have that starting in the fall. We have another one. We have other classrooms. I'm sorry, dormitories being renovated in City Center that we hope to have online in January of 22. The Aquilone building, the classrooms, they are scheduled for an update, whether it's the communication system, the IT system, and the structure and the aesthetics are all going to be upgraded. So a couple of slides to leave you with. Raison d'être is a French term for reason for being. What is our reason for doing this? It's because it's going to change your life, right? We hope to develop a more global view of the world with students that go there, and the role that the built environment and the natural environment play in enriching the culture locally and globally. We want to increase cultural IQ and global awareness in all our students and faculty. You will not come back to Texas thinking about things 100% the same way. You've listened to other people's perspectives, you've considered different things differently, and it's just a very mind-broadening experience. And knowledge base regarding working in an international setting and making relative adjustments to your solutions becomes a thought process for you. You become more creative in problem solving and in some cases design. A quote from former First Lady Michelle Obama: "That's how student by student we develop that habit of cooperation, by immersing yourself in someone else's culture, by sharing your stories and letting them share theirs, by taking the time to get past the stereotypes and misperceptions that too often divide us." I think that's stated perfectly. So don't miss out on this opportunity in Urbino. Obviously, there are other study abroad opportunities at many universities, but we think that this is the best we've got right now. It is the only full-term faculty-led program at UTSA. I believe that's right. Still, Rebecca? So I would suggest that you make a decision, you commit, you apply, you pay and prepare, you go learn, change, enjoy, and have no regrets about passing on this opportunity. Power of place, we call that Urbino. So let me stop now and ask for domande or questions that you might have. Questions, we're up to 9 participants. Somebody go first with a question.
Yes, this is Charles.
Yeah, Charles.
Main question, what's the total cost like?
Okay, the total cost depends on the time and what your group is going to be doing when you're there, but it's averaging about the overall program cost, right?
Mm-hmm.
For what I said was included, is running between $9,500 and $9,850 right now.
Okay.
It's based on a current exchange rate, euro exchange rate. But what you need to understand is if we have a slide that we sometimes show comparing that cost and going to school there and the cost of going to school here at UTSA Maine, it's about a $48,000 to $5,000 difference.
Okay, so that 95 to 98, that doesn't include the tuition we'll usually pay? Okay.
Correct. That's just the program cost that I've been describing.
All right. So it'll be that plus the tuition plus what we plan to have for example, the weekend.
Right. And the fees, it's plus tuition, fees, play money, souvenir money, other miscellaneous stuff.
Okay. So if it's program specific, is there a particular person I can talk to that can?
What is your major?
Architecture.
Well, you're in luck because if you're an architecture student, there's an international studio in your curriculum, and the only way to meet that requirement is in Urbino.
Yes,
that's so you're going. So when did you start as an architecture major?
I'm actually in my second to last semester, so I have to go in the fall.
Well, then you should have been on a Zoom meeting I had from noon to 1 today.
Oh, I didn't get that.
Well, okay, Armando is the assistant department chair. I would get in touch with him like ASAP.
Okay.
Because if you should have been on the list, you somehow fell between the cracks because it's a junior level architecture requirement. So if you didn't do it last year, you should have been left,
Yes.
the group that was supposed to go last year doesn't get to go because of the pandemic. The requirement was released. And so that's roughly 90 students, right? 90 to 100 students. And we have another 90 waiting right now to go. So be sure and get in touch with Armando like after we close.
Okay. What is his last name?
Ariza, Araiza, I think. Armando. He teaches, you probably should have had him by now. He teaches the digital fabrication piece.
I didn't have him because I transferred from SAC. So.
Okay, so you were new to UTSA last fall?
Actually before that.
Okay. Yeah, get in touch with him. I mean, it's really peculiar right now because most of you probably haven't been in a classroom.
Nope.
You've been online the whole time. So, and that's a tragedy, but it couldn't be helped. So please get in touch with him as soon as you can.
All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else? Question, are there any programs for graduate students? I'm graduating in May with the medical humanities. Lexi, I would love to have medical humanities, that's COLFA. Medical humanities undergraduate sent a group, I'm going to say year before last. And they may have had a couple of graduate students that went with them. I don't know if they were GAs or if they were taking a parallel class or not, but I can send me an email and I can hook you up with the right person to start talking to. All right, my email is john.murphy@utsa.edu. Let me put it in the chat. Okay, some other questions in the chat. Will there be opportunities to visit Florence and Rome outside of the excursions? What does that cost look like? Well, you can get on a train any Friday you choose, right? And or there's a bus that goes to Rome, which is a 4-hour bus ride, 1 or 2 a day. So you might have to leave very early. But I mean, it's how much do you want to spend, right? Ellen, how big a hotel are you going to stay? I can't answer how much it's going to cost, but I think the bus trip is like 40 euros, but you can go down to the train station, go to anywhere you want on a Friday and come back Sunday night for sure. Are there any programs for grad students? That's Lexi I was talking to. But yes, Lexi, please get in touch with me offline and we'll try to figure out how we can do that because I've been wanting to get some graduate studies started over there. So please. Oh, Ellen, you were talking about the actual cost of transportation. Well, the bus is, I think, 40 euros each way. The train, it's probably going to be about that same amount. And it's a little harder because you have to it's 3 exchange points for taking the train to Rome. Who can I talk to if I'm a microbiology and immunology major? Send me, Elof, send me an email as well, and I'll try to get you to the right person. We're talking, like I said, environmental sciences, and that's probably who you need to talk to. Professor Young is the person that's coming to mind, but I'm not sure she's exactly in your area. So get in touch with me, and everybody, if you're going to send me an email, put in the header of the email that it's about future Urbino programming or something like that, and it'll trip my memory. Other questions? There is if you go to the Office of Global Initiatives website. There's an amazing video there. If you go to ISCU, you hit that button and it opens it up, and there's a YouTube video clip. Please go watch it. It's like 18 minutes long, but it's the best 18 minutes you'll watch in a long time. So have a look. Other questions? I see some people are having to drop off, and that's understood.
I have two questions.
Okay.
So the first one, you may already answer, but I kind of joined late.
Okay.
When is the program going to come back? Like fall 2021 or 2022?
We have a fall program, fall 21 program that we met on today planning, and it starts the 3rd of September and comes back on the 3rd of December. But
December?
September through December, 3rd through 3rd. It's a 90-day limit, 90 limit. What major are you? Felipe, what major are you?
Global affairs.
Okay, so you don't have a program there right now, but obviously I would love to have global affairs have a group over there. It would be an amazing, and imagine the limits that you would have in that location. But you would need to start talking to a faculty member in your global affairs program, and let's try to figure a group out in the near future.
Okay, so I have another question. Just
Okay.
give me 1 minute because I'm in the bank. Sorry.
Okay. Anybody else have a question while we're waiting on him to get outside? Quentin or Ellen, either of you have a question? You're the two that haven't asked.
I think you answered all my questions.
Okay, great.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Go ahead.
Okay, my last question is gonna be the program only for like students?
I think what you're asking is, are only students allowed to go? That's correct. We do not allow anybody that's not a registered UTSA student to participate, including.
Can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Okay. Did you understood my question or?
I think so. Let me go on answering it. This is only for UTSA registered students. So
Okay.
that means no partners or spouses can go, no family members can go. It is an educational experience that lasts for 13 weeks, right? Often people have family members join them somewhere in Europe, Italy, whatever, for their break week. But this is only for UTSA students.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Anything else? Well, please leave today excited about what might be, and visit with some of your fellow students talk about ideas, and talk to faculty in your college and in your program, and see if you can dream something up, and we'll try to make that dream come true. All right. Thanks for joining us today, and stay safe. Take care.